Okay, good morning everyone. Chazak, Baruch, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning, Erev Shabbat Kodesh, as we are studying together Perashat Emor. Perashat Emor, my friends, deals with many different topics. Emor, we saw, began with the commandment about Kohanim. It continues and it speaks about the holidays. The end of the Perashah, I want to read today the end of the Perashah. Very interesting episode. Okay, please turn, my friends, to chapter 24. Okay, chapter 24, Pasuk 10. Okay, Chav Daled Yud. Look at this. Let's read it together. Very interesting story. Random. V'yasa ben Isha Yisraelit. There came out a man who was the son of a Israelite female. Okay, Isha Yisraelit, a lady Jew. Okay, what does that mean, a lady? You know, usually a guy. What do you mean? Why are we calling him the son of a lady? Obviously, he's the son of a lady. It never usually refers to a guy like that. V'yatza, a man, ben Isha Yisraelit, a guy who is the son of a Jewish lady. Okay, Vehu ben Ish Mitzri. He happened to be also the son of a Egyptian man. Okay. So his mother was Jewish, and his father was Egyptian. Wow. So we're reading over here about a case of a child that's mamzer. Betoch bnei Israel. He comes out among the Jewish people. What does that mean? He comes out? I'm not sure. V'yinatzu b'machaneh bnei Israelit ve'isha Israeli. And they start fighting this son of the Jewish lady and the son of another Jewish man. So they start fighting. It doesn't say what they're fighting about, but they're fighting. Vayikov ben ha'isha Israelit et Hashem. And all of a sudden, the son of the Jewish lady, meaning the mamzer, he says God's name in blasphemy. Vaykalel, and he curses. Vayaviu oto Moshe, and they bring him to Moshe. Veshem imo, and by the way, who is his mother? Shelomit bat Divri lemate Dan. She is Shelomit. That's her name. Okay, so we're getting slowly a little bit of the picture. There was a man. His mother was Jewish. Her name was Shelomit, the tribe of Dan. His father was an Egyptian, not Jewish. And he got into a fight with a Jewish man. And then he curses, he curses using Hashem's name. Vayanihuhu b'mishmar, which is, by the way, capital offense, very bad to do, God forbid, to bless Hashem. Vayanihuhu b'mishmar, they put him in jail. Lifrosh lahem al pi Hashem, until God should tell him what to do. Vaydaber Adonai Moshe lemor, and God says to Moshe, Hotzet hamekalel, you are to take this person outside of the camp. V'samchu kol hashomim b'tidehem, and all the elders are to put their hands on his head. V'ragmu oto kol ha'edah, and they stone him to death. Okay, so unfortunately this man had to be killed. His punishment, punishable by stoning. Okay, that's called sekilah, worst form of punishment. Ve'el b'nei Yisrael tedeber lemor, and then you should tell the Jews, ish, anyone who ki kalel Elohav, anyone who blasphemies God. V'nasach o shall bear the guilt. V'nokev shem Hashem mot yumat, anyone who pronounces the name of Hashem shall be put to death. You're not allowed to say God's name, right? We say today a different name, Amonai, but you can't just say Hashem's name the way it's written. Kager ka'ezrach benokvo shem yumat. Okay, really, for a person to use God's name and to say it explicitly, and then to curse, it just shows complete disrespect for Hashem and for the Jewish people and for tradition. And so God says there's no room for that. To pronounce it, it's so disconnected for a person to reach such a low level. By the way, anyone who kills a person also should get killed. And if you kill an animal, right, one who kills a beast has to pay for it. You just kill someone's animal, you got to pay him back. And if you put a maim in another person, then you have to also pay back whatever you caused. Ayin tahat ayin, chen tahat shem, eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. How much is his eye worth? You have to evaluate it. How much, right? And then pay him back. So it goes on and tells us all the different laws. If you kill a person, if you kill an animal, if you damage a person, umakeh behema, if you damage an animal, you also have to pay. Mishpat ehad yiyeh lachem kageh ka'azrah haaretz, ka'azrah yiyeh, meaning you should have a standard law for the stranger, for the citizen. And this is what Moshe then relayed to the people, and they then killed this person. Last pasuk of the parasha, vayotziu et hamekalel michutz lamahaneh. They took out this Jew, this half Jew, this person who cursed. They took him out. Vayirgemu oto avin. They killed him. Ubnei Yisrael asu ka'asher tzivah Adonai et Moshe. And the Jewish people did as exactly as Hashem commanded Moshe. Period. End of parasha. Very, very odd. Okay? But basically, Torah tells us there was some altercation between a Jew and a half Jew. And he ended up, because of that fight, he cursed his God. And then they kill him. And then in between the killing and the verdict, the Torah decides to tell us about laws of animals and killing an animal, hurting an animal, killing a person, hurting a person. Okay, it's not clear exactly what's going on over here. So let's try to fill in with the commentaries this very vague episode. Rashi writes, what does this mean? This guy came out. Today the word came out means something else, right? But what does it mean over here? He came out. Vayetze. He came out. What does that mean? Mehechan yatza. Where did he come out of? Rabbi Berachia Omer. He came out from the previous parasha that we just read. What did we just read last class, the previous episode? We read about, it was yesterday's class actually, about the laws of the oil that we have to light the menorah with, and the bread that we put on the table that we put every Shabbat. Yeah, from week to week we change the bread, the lehem apanim. So this man, Rashi says, he started laughing. He started laughing at this religion. He says, "Beyom haShabbat yarchenu." You should switch the bread every Saturday, once a week. Derech hamelech la'achol pat hama bechol yom. A normal king eats bread, hot bread, delicious bread every day, right? You want to give God 7-day-old bread? It's ridiculous. So he started laughing at our halachot. Matnita Amar, another opinion. Mebet dino shel Moshe yatza. He emerged not from the previous reading. He emerged from the courthouse. There was a huge court case at the time, and the question was: this guy's mother is a Jew. This guy's father is a Israelite, is an Egyptian, and the question was: what is his status? This guy, is he a Jew? Is he not a Jew? And which tribe is he part of? Usually, the tribe follows the father. So even if you say he's Jewish, but now where should he put his tent? Where should he stay? Where should he sleep? Who's right? Which house is he in? Right, Gryffindor. Right, where does he go? So should he put him with? The right? I don't know. His father is Egyptian. You can't follow his father. There's no tribe for Egyptians. His mother, she's from Dan. So that's what he thought. He said, okay, fine. If I don't have a dad, let me follow my mom. So he went and he pitched his tent in the tribe of Dan. And Dan's like, dude, no, you don't belong here. You're not Dan. What's your father's last name? Oh, Egyptian? Sorry. We only allowed Danites over here, right? And they were sent away. So he filed a lawsuit against the tribe of Dan, and he went to court. And how did the lawsuit go? How did it end up? Yatsa mehuyav. The half Jew came out guilty. The rule is that no, they're right. If your father is not Dan, then you cannot demand that they let you stay with them. So he came out so upset, and Amad vegidef. So that's why he came out and he cursed. Okay. So this is what Rashi explains in the beginning. Where did he come out of? The Or HaHaim gives a different, very interesting answer. Vayetze, the word Vayetze, anyone could think, I'll give you actually a second. Where do we find the word Vayetze in our literature? Very famous story. And it emerged. I kind of gave it away with that. And it emerged. Anyone? Very close. That's Vatetze. That's Dina. Good. That's female though. The word Vayetze, the actual word. I think you guys will get it. Another second. Remember by the Egel? Remember the Egel? It says, Vayetze ha'egel hazeh. Aharon, when he was trying to explain to Moshe what happened exactly, he says, I don't know. They just gave me their gold. I put it all in the fire. Vayetze ha'egel hazeh. And this egel just came out of nowhere. And really, Aharon did not want to make an egel. He didn't want to make a calf shape item. He didn't know what he was making. He just threw the gold into the fire. Happened to be someone else came, Midrash says, and threw in a piece of paper that said Ale Shur, and that's how it came out. But as far as Aharon, there was no intention on his part for this to come out the way it came out. There was no intent. Aharon just threw the gold, and the Egyptian sorcerers who came out of Egypt with the Jewish people caused a golden calf to emerge. So the term Vayetze can refer to something unintentional. Oh, so look at this, says the Ora Hayim, very clever. Kemo ken kan, similar here. Over here, Lo shenitkavena ha'isha Yisraelit lema'aseh ki'ur. A Jewish lady, and we know her name, Shalomit, when she had a baby with an Egyptian man, you say, wow, horrible, shame on her, shame on her. Rabbi, I thought the Jews were very loyal in Egypt. I thought they didn't sleep with the Egyptians. The answer is they didn't. Vayetze, this child emerged unintentionally. Wow, this relation happened not intentional. How does that happen? Belo mitkaven ledvar isur yatsa nega. This affliction, this child emerged without any intent. Okay, Omram, like our rabbis tell us. Our rabbis say, maybe you remember this back from Perashat Shemot, shehe'emid hamitzri ha'ba'al la'avodato. That the morning came, the Egyptian came and threw the Jew out of bed. He pulled him out of bed to go work. And when the Jew left the room, the Egyptian came in, he sneaked into the house. Ve'asa ma'aseh, he did what he did. He committed the act with this married Jewish lady. Ve'ha'isha hashva ki ba'alaya. The woman had no idea that it wasn't her husband. She thought it was her husband, the man that was with her. And yatsa negazeh, and that's how she got pregnant, and that's how this child was born. And so what's going on over here? The Ora Haim says vayatza, vayetze. Vayetze, it happened to be that this boy came out. There was no intention on her part. Just like Aharon, there was no intention on his part. Vayetze, there was no intention. It just happened to come out because of what this Egyptian taskmaster did. And by the way, if you remember in Perashat Shemot, who was this Egyptian? Who was this Egyptian that fathered the child? He is the Egyptian that was striking the Jew. He was striking him in the field. He was hitting him, he was beating him up. And the Pasuk says that Moshe, it says, Vayifen cho vacho. He looked here and he looked there. Rashi says, what does it mean he looked here, he looked there? He looked what he's doing to him now by beating him up. And he saw what he did to him there the night before by being with his wife. Could you imagine the disgusting, the evil, the pure evil of this man, Egyptian, to not only do what he did last night, but then the next day to start teasing the Jew. Hey, how's it going? How's the wife? He's beating him up. Wow, can you imagine the low level, pure evil? And so Moshe saw what he did to him here, and he saw what he did to him there, and he killed him. And he killed him. He struck that Egyptian. So, and Moshe, he kills him actually with Shema Meforash. It's very interesting to see how this whole story comes full circle. He strikes him with God's name. And we read here at the end of the story that the product of that, the child also ends up using God's name. But he uses God's name for bad. Moshe used the Shema Meforash to save someone. And this child, unfortunately, used the Shema Meforash, he used God's name to curse. He curses. Very interesting, just thinking now out loud. But either way, this is the Ora Hayim on Vayetze. A child came out. It wasn't intentional. She didn't mean to. She didn't know what was going on. And it happened to be. And, okay, Vayatza negazeh. Velazeh timtza. That's why you find Shakatuv mashve zichron ha'isha lezichron ha'ish Yisraeli. You find in the Pasuk, it says, let's go back to the beginning. It says over here, Vayetze ben Isha Yisraelit. It calls her a Isha Yisraelit. And then it says that the kid was fighting with a Ish Israeli. What is the connection between Isha Israelite and Ish Israeli? כי נקייה האישה מעוון, ושווה לאיש הישראלי המוזכר לפנינו, שאין בו דופי. Right? Had she been guilty of the sin, the verse would not have mentioned the woman and the Israelite man together, since this phrasing indicates a similarity between them. So the son of the Israelite woman is extra. The verse could have said, and he and the Israelite man. Why does it say again, Ben ha-Yisraelit ve'isha Israeli? So it's to tell you that the two are equal. The Israelite woman and the Israelite man, they were both free of sin. Okay? They were both free of sin. So she was free of sin. Fine. Ve'omro betoch bnei Israel. Pasuk says that he emerges amongst the Jewish people. What does that mean? Betoch bnei Israel shelo haya betocham mamzer kayotze bo. He was the only one. He was the only one among the Jews that had such a case. That means for 210 years the Jews were in Egypt. There was not one other mamzer. There was not one other case, not on purpose and not by accident. He was the only one. Betoch bnei Israel. Amazing. Look at the loyalty, the fidelity of the Jewish people. Another opinion, like we said, that the Jews of Dan, they didn't want to let him settle amongst them. Anywhere he went to pitch his tent, they would tell him, you're not from our tribe. Rabotenu, Amru. Okay. So that's what it means. Betoch bnei Israel. Right? He was trying to be be amongst the Jews. He was trying to be bnei Israel. Rabotenu Amru sheba lomar hakatuv shenitgayer. A third opinion is that he came amongst the Jews. He joined the Jewish people. That means that he went and he officially did a conversion. Okay, so three opinions of what Betoch Bnei Israel means. Continues the pasuk and it says, and then he started fighting him with a Ish Israeli, him with a Jewish man. Who is the Jewish man that he was fighting with? Or Haim says, Lo hiskir shemo, that we don't know. Doesn't say his name. Why not? Ulai shelo ratza lehaskiro. Pasuk is telling us a very beautiful lesson. We didn't want to mention him by name. Because at the end of the day, it was through this argument with him that he ended up cursing God. And our rabbis tell us that harm is brought about through one who is guilty. Even when a person does not directly cause an unfortunate event, the fact that it came through you, that's something that means that you're guilty in another area. This is an extreme level of sensitivity that a Jew is on. That something bad happens through us, we have to check ourselves. And a Jew must wonder, why did I be the cause of that? Why was I the cause of that? Right? We find this in a few areas. We find that you have to put a fence on your roof. You got to put a fence on your roof. If you build a roof, you got to put a fence. You got to protect anyone from falling. Now the pasuk says that if someone falls, no fail. The pasuk says he was falling. It calls the guy who fell a faller. And the rabbi is saying the Gemara, very interesting. The Gemara says, let's do what Gemara says. That the guy who fell off the roof, it doesn't say guy who fell. It says if the faller falls, why would you call the guy a faller? Until he falls, he's not a faller. You call him a faller before he fell. The answer is he was always a faller. He was destined to fall. He was supposed to fall. It was decreed. This is supposed to be his fate. He's going to fall. That's why we call him a faller. So then, if he's a faller, why do I have to put up a fence? Guy who's supposed to fall is going to fall. So why do I have to do a fence? The answer is that is our job. That is the balance between the hishtadlut and bitahon, of knowing something's supposed to happen, but at the same time doing whatever I can to make sure that I'm not the guilty party. Right? Hashem decreed, as an example, that the Jews are supposed to be slaves in Egypt for 210 years, 400 years, whatever. And at the same time, the Egyptians are guilty for doing it. Because two things are true at once. On the one hand, something's supposed to happen, but this is the rule. Megalgelin zechut al yedei zakai and megalgelin chova al yedei chayav. Bad things happen through bad people, and good things happen through good people. And so, in life, It's our job to try to make sure that good things happen through us, that we are emissaries, that we are liaisons for good things. And if something bad happens through us, that's a wake-up call. God's trying to say, whoa, 1 second. Why was I the messenger? Why did it happen through me? Maybe there's something that I need to wake up to. Maybe God's trying to send me a message. If this bad thing happened through me. And so here's a kid, he's having an argument. You're allowed to have an argument, no? You have an argument with your wife, ever? Maybe, right? No? You ever had an argument with your partner? Okay, you had an argument. All of a sudden the argument got to a level that the person, because of that argument, he ended up doing something very bad. Now again, did you tell him to curse? Did you tell him to do the bad thing? You didn't tell him. You were having an argument. But at the end of the day, it happened through you. It was brought about because of an argument that you had with him. And a person that's on a sensitive level will understand that this is a wake-up call to me. Why did it happen through me? This episode happened through me. It's something God's trying to send me, a message. I'll give you another example. Esther, remember Esther? What did Mordechai say to her? Either way, the Jews are going to be saved. But you should try to be the one that it happens through. Be the one that it happens through. Right? So you want to, in life, put yourself in situations that good things are happening through you. For sure, at the end of the day, the community is going to be saved. At the end of the day, there's going to be, whatever it is, Hashem's plan is going to happen. But your job is to try to be the middleman. And that's all we could do in life. God, please, I want to be the one in between. I want to try to be whatever I can. I want to step up. I want to try to make the good happen. It was going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. But I want to be the Zakai. I want to be the one to make it happen through. Okay? And God forbid, we want to stay away from bad things happening through us. And that's both happening through us. And secondly, if they do, then that's a wake-up call. Okay, why did it happen through me? Why did Hashem let this bad thing come about from me, through me? You know, the Gemara says that if you're a Nazir and you happen to be in the temple, sorry, not Nazir, I skipped. If you're in the temple one day, and people used to go to the temple for all different reasons, and all of a sudden you see a sotah. What's a sotah? A sotah is a lady that her husband tells her, listen, I don't like when I see you with John. Okay, please don't go with John anymore. Then again, somehow two witnesses saw her alone with John. They didn't know what they did in the room. And she's like, what are you doing? I was playing chess with John. I didn't do anything. He's like, I don't know. He already warned her, and now he doesn't trust his wife anymore. So the Torah says you bring her to the Beit HaMikdash and she has to drink special water. Right? She has to drink sotah water. Okay, there's different things mixed in. And if she's innocent, what happens? She has very easy delivery. If she's guilty, though, then she starts to blow up, to swell up, okay? And I'm not sure if it's like, Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory, but something happens, she starts to swell. And this is the sotah. Gemara says if you ever happen to be in the Beit HaMikdash and that day you notice the sotah, if you're there on that day, there's a message there. God's talking to you. Life is all about picking up the messages, the signals. They're very subtle. The signals in life are very, very subtle. They're not loud. But the tzaddikim know how to pick them up. Yosef HaTzaddik, God sent him a tiny message, a little signal. You know what it was? Tiniest of tiny. But for Yosef, that was enough to know God's with me. What was the message? When the Arabs sold him, when the brothers sold him to the Arabs and he was being taken down to Egypt, he was in the caravan and they were carrying good smelling spices. Usually they're carrying petroleum and all these things, Rashi says, tar, foul smells. And all of a sudden they're carrying good smells. And Yosef's like, oh, that's a message. God's talking to me. I'm good. That was enough for him for the next 22 years, no matter what went on in his life, to know that God is here. Because he's not going to tell you. He's not going to come down and say, hey, Ariel, I'm with you. You're going to hear voices. If you hear voices, you should go to a doctor. But God sprinkles. And how many people in life don't notice them? They don't grab opportunity. Moshe's burning bush was an opportunity. And many people, they have a burning bush that they just walk right by. They see it and they ignore it. And they move on. And Moshe sees the burning bush and he's confronted with this image where he has to decide, what do I do? Do I take a picture and I just say, wow, so cool, and post it on my social media? Or does he approach? Life is about approaching our opportunities. And noticing, waking up and smelling the coffee. Noticing the signs all day there's signs. The question is, are we picking them up? But that's our job. And so if something bad happens through you, that's a sign. And so says the Ora Hayim, comes along the Pasuk, and it tells us that this Egyptian, half Jew, was having an argument with a full-fledged Jew. But it doesn't tell us the Jew's name. You know why? Because since something bad happened through him, En HaKadosh Baruch Hu chafetz leganot Adam. Hashem did not want to explicitly write down his name because he didn't want to embarrass who is the other person in this altercation. He didn't want to list him. He didn't want to embarrass the guy because it would be embarrassing. The fact that this happened through you, not your fault. But it happened through you, so it is your fault. And therefore, God knew that saying his name would be gossip. It would be Lashon Hara. And so, 2 lessons. Lesson 1, like we just spent a few minutes on, is being aware if something happens through me, it's because I have to wake up. God's sending me a message. And if good things happen through you, that's also a message. That means that you're doing good things. Keep it up. And if bad things happen through you, it means we got to wake up. Keep it up or wake it up, right? One or the other. And secondly, look at Hashem, how sensitive God is. Even though this guy, that something bad happened through him, God is what's it called? God's sensitive to his feelings. We're not gonna expose you. We're not gonna write you. We're not gonna tell people who you are. We're not gonna say your name, right? We're not gonna say your name because it's embarrassing to you. It's embarrassing to you. We're gonna leave it anonymous. This is very, very a beautiful lesson of embarrassing. Embarrassing. You know, you're saying over a story to somebody of what happened. And, you know, you want to sometimes give the details of the story. But you got to be careful. You're saying the other side, that's embarrassing to them. Maybe you're not allowed to say that name. Maybe you got to keep the name out. So I want to tell you a story. I don't want to say with who. I'm sure you could figure it out. The best is, you know, when the person tries guessing. All right, give me 3 guesses, you know? Was it Joe? Oh, no, okay, fine. Give me, right? You're not allowed to do the guessing game, okay? But Hashem kept it anonymous because didn't want to expose, not to embarrass. Another example where God did this is the tree that Adam ate from. What was the tree? What was the fruit? We don't know. Torah leaves it out because at the end of the day, that fruit caused destruction to the world. And it's not the fruit's fault, but it's through you. It's through the fruit. Oh, we're going to leave you out. So God says, because I don't want people to put down this tree, I'm going to leave out this name. I'm going to not tell you which fruit it is. We're guessing. We think it's a grape. Maybe it's a fig. Maybe it's etrog. We don't know. I don't want to write it because it's going to be shameful. It's going to be shameful. And so, all of life is about asking, how can we not shame the people around us? How can we be sensitive to their feelings? This is called kavod haberiot, my friends. The honor of people. Honor of people. Not to hurt people. Not to embarrass people. A person could do that. That is something very praiseworthy. That is something that Hashem does. Hashem made sure not to embarrass the megadef. Hashem makes sure not to embarrass the etzadat. Not their fault really. And even there it says, but still, it's a little bit embarrassing. So how much more so when something's very embarrassing, that we shouldn't expose the people that something happened through. Okay, I think these are 2 nice lessons. Of course, Friday night, we cover the bread. We cover the bread because we don't want the bread to see that we're saying a blessing on wine before it. And of course, bread doesn't have feelings, but neither does a tree. And Hashem is teaching us lessons through these things. When we cover the bread tonight and you do kiddush on wine, you're saying, 1 second, this wine is really, bread should come first. Hamotzi is more important than gefen. Friday night, there's an exception. We're doing kiddush. But the bread maybe feels bad. I got to be sensitive to the bread. So I'm going to cover it. I'm not going to shame it. I'm going to cover his name. I'm going to make sure he doesn't see. If you're having a conversation with your friend and then someone walks into the room that you know is maybe struggling financially, that you know is maybe struggling with children. So be respectful to their shame. Right? Maybe don't have that conversation in front of them now. Change topic. We got to be sensitive. Okay, my friends, we'll stop over here. Have a Shabbat Shalom, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.